have stayed at a lot of great hotels in Portugal. In fact, we stayed at the very best, right from Six Senses in Douro Valley to Belmont Reeds on Madeira Island. However, there is one place we've been wanting to go ever since we moved to Portugal in 2018.
A hotel tucked away in the highly introvert-friendly region of Alentejo, which happens to be one of our personal favorites in all of Portugal. It's like an undiscovered hobbit land where especially the winters are magically green to the point where you are convinced that Mother Nature added an Instagram filter to your eyes. Anyway, São Lourenço do Barrocal is the name of the hotel, and we decided to finally invest in 2 nights at this right off the bat fairy tale farm. For people familiar with the luxury hotel scene in Portugal, this is considered a top 5 hotel. The entire experience is incredibly streamlined, right from growing most of the things they serve, an exceptional service, to feeling utter peace in an underplayed luxury farm setting.
We won't mention the price until the end of this video, as we don't want to cloud your judgment of the place from the very get-go. The real question is if this hotel lives up to all the hype. We have 48 hours to find out. São Lourenço do Barrocal is located at 2 hours and 15 minutes drive from Lisbon. It's a spectacular location surrounded by endless fields of olive, almond and cork trees with a stone throw to the majestic castle town of Monsaraz, a magical place we have already visited several times. Furthermore, you have Alqueva, which is one of Europe's largest man-made lakes. It's kinda hard to believe as it's so beautiful and natural looking. I mean, look at this house.
We arrived at the hotel early Friday afternoon where we were greeted by a Maybach and a complimentary glass of wine in the hotel lounge area. It was surprisingly delicious, and even more so when we learned they make it themselves. Normally check-in is at 3, but we were granted an early check-in at 1. However, we decided to head straight for lunch. First impressions of Hotel São Lourenço do Barrocal were positive.
Ever since we moved to Portugal, we have dreamed about having a little farm stay in Alentejo, and that dream only got bigger right upon check-in. The quality, presentation and taste of food was delicioso. In Alentejo you must try migas, and this was among the best we have ever had.
Anyway, it was time to check into our room. We had booked a standard double room, which is also the cheapest. With 50 square meters, we were quite pleased with the size of it. We've never been fans of those tiny cubicle rooms that a lot of 5-star hotels offer at crazy prices. The room itself is nice, but perhaps a little bit underwhelming. At least that was my opinion, but Amalie didn't agree, and she's the interior designer, so you better listen to her.
This is what a modern farmhouse has to look like. I love the colors, the dusty green, the dusty blue. It's so cute here. Like, this is the real floor that you see here in Portugal, which I really like. Even the way that it's layered out is like the old school style. I think it's very cute. What they really want to be is like this understated luxury farmhouse, and they have succeeded with that.
Here's a quick tour of our slightly more successful friend's 1-bedroom house. It's huge, and although they paid 80% more per night, it's 3 times nicer. Their house even had an ancient bullfighting ring. Back at our peasant room, the bathroom was definitely the nicest part. It couldn't get more farmstay worthy than this, with the essential bidet for Jon, bathtub for Amalie, and luxury amenities that Amalie contemplated stealing with her home. The bathrobes were amazingly comfortable. The only thing we didn't like was the presence of a scale, completely unnecessary when having a weekend of self-indulgence.
Another bonus was the Stash minibar with complimentary artisanal beers, beverages and snacks. We even got this complimentary snack pack as well. However, I do wonder if hotels ever realized that the in-room safe should be big enough to fit a 16-inch laptop, but props for the in-safe outlet. In the hallway we noticed what looked like mold, but our sensitive noses didn't smell anything. The best part of the room was of course that ladder was allowed here. You pay a €75 pet fee for every 3 days you stay. And it doesn't matter if you only stay 1 or 2 nights.
So my favorite part is obviously that you just step out here as if you are at your grandparents' farmhouse. And it really doesn't get more idyllic than this. And if you know Alentejo, you also know that this right here is why you fall in love with Alentejo. It's just so idyllic, and these... Is it olive tree?
Yeah.
It doesn't really smell like anything, but it's so beautiful.
Upon easing into our weekend of indulgence, we went for a walk around the property. Every farm should obviously have horses, and this one is no exception. These horses seemed happy and healthy. We wanted to book them for a horseback ride around the land, but to our disappointment they were already booked out. They even had a donkey, but it appeared underfed, and it was determined to eat my jacket.
To really understand the size of the property, I went for a run. That's something I usually only do in my mind, but this time around I felt a strong calling from Mother Nature. The hotel has marked trails where you can easily go for a 10k run. I did 6, which was enough to almost get lost. The air really doesn't get more fresh than this. And feeling the tranquility of the farm and seeing the dogs play upon a good workout is just epic. There are other restaurants in the area, but you will have to drive 10 to 15 minutes, so it's more convenient to dine at the hotel restaurant. Food has to be great here, right? Before heading to our table, we enjoyed a cloudy sunset with drinks and their own quite delicious artisanal beer. There were fire pits all around the hotel which added to the ambience, but there were simply too many, so our clothing would smell of smoke the following day. First world problems, I know. The dinner was decent. Nothing earth-shatteringly great, but alright. If you could describe this hotel so far with just one word, what would it be?
One word?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah?
I think this is so amazing.
The following morning it was time to check out the breakfast setup that is included in the daily rate. We were not disappointed. From freshly pressed juice and chilled bubbles to honey, cold cuts and overall deliciousness, it was hard to contain ourselves. The day couldn't get more beautiful, and with 25 degrees in the middle of March, we had struck luck beyond imagination. There are 2 things you must do when you're staying in this area: pottery and Castletown.
2 things we have already done, but something we are always up for doing again. Just 2 kilometers from the hotel, you find a tiny village called Portugal. There are more potteries than habitable houses, so it's a great place to get some genuine souvenirs. We know the guy at Olaria Upatalim, so that's where we always go. And even though you might think this is just a random place of pottery, these guys are heavy hitters. They ship to the entire world with customized products made for all sorts of luxury brands. So all this here is ready to be shipped to Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Singapore, actually also even Denmark. It's insanely affordable and likely 10 times cheaper than if you find it in some store in New York City. We added 2 to our wall of plates.
From the town of Pottery, you have a 10-minute drive to Montserrat. There are guest houses here, but it's more of a simple Airbnb kind of style than actual luxury hotels. This place doesn't require much explanation. You come here for the majestic beauty, the narrow cobblestone streets, a walk on the castle walls, a rooftop wine tasting, a view to the lake, a drink at a bar, and perhaps, but most likely, a typical Portuguese lunch. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why everyone loves Portugal. Not far from here, you have beautiful towns like Mavao and Castelo Vide. You have wineries and just magical nature as far as the eye can see, no matter where you are.
Back at the hotel, we got to experience what a nice and warm summer day is like here. This place really is the definition of idle. This horse just had a baby horse, which we obviously had to celebrate in the pool bar, where it was time to taste the Baucal Rosé along with a few cocktails. Ironically enough, we had the best prego ever, although you usually only find that on Madeira where we live. As the sun was slowly setting, a euphoric buzz had settled in our souls. We're at the pool here in late March and it is 23 degrees, which is absolutely absurd for this time of year. But there was a small hair in the soup. So I'm sitting here with gin and tonic. This is a Charis gin, which is a Portuguese local gin right here from Alentejo. And it's a beautiful moment, but I have to say, 2 of these, 43 euros. A bottle of Charis gin is around 34 euros. This is where 5-star hotels, they try to make a joke out of you. This is just not fair. You have a comment?
If you can't afford it, don't come.
Robbing your clients with ridiculous cocktail prices is fairly normal at luxury hotels, so it wasn't anything like a deal breaker. It's just that these little things sometimes leave you with a bad taste and a sense that this beautiful and authentic farm hotel with homegrown everything isn't that authentic after all. That the perceived authenticity is really just designed to charge 600 euros a night, because that is the general price for one night. However, we were somehow lucky enough to pay 350 630 euros per night.
Paying 300 to 400 euros is fair, but 600 euros for a standard room doesn't correlate with the overall experience, especially not when there is a heavy focus on upselling. Almost all activities offered come with a decent price tag, so it's hard to not feel like a human credit card. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful place to be, and we really loved our stay.
Wow. So what I think is perfect about this place is that everywhere you look is untouched, it's natural. There's no invasion of artificial luxury, artificial beauty. It's all the way it was 200 years ago, 300 years ago.
There isn't anything bad to say really, but as our good friend likes to say, the hotel is fairly normcore.
And to some extent we do agree. It is a glorified farm stay, and to experience what Alentejo is all about, there are lots of decent alternatives. So to address the title of the video, we wouldn't categorize it as the best hotel in Portugal, but it's definitely up there. There's also a lot of competition. Six Senses in Douro Valley has a lot more X factor. Grand House at the Algarve has a lot more personality.
Either way, São Lourenço do Baracal is an excellent hotel that we do recommend, but would we come back? Probably, but we're too cheap to pay 600 euros a night for a fairly standard room. And like Tyler says, if you can afford it, don't come. Upon checkout, the total bill was 672 euros for the room, plus 75 euros for larder and 405 euros for food and drinks.